In this example, we're going to find the area inside one loop of the equation r equals 4 cosine 5 theta. There are, again, there are multiple ways to do this. It's never a bad idea to make some guesses about the graph. Maybe start thinking about, what r would be at certain thetas. Like if I plug in a 0, 5 multiplied by 0 is 0, the cosine of 0 is 1, so this is 4. So I sometimes like to do that just to say, this is the starting point. I'm going to put SP for starting point. And then you could even figure out, okay, well, when is it going to reach this point right here? It's going to kind of sweep through. I want to know when it equals 0. You could do that. And then you could even integrate from 0 to that point. And, if you did that, then you'd double it and you'd have one petal. Another way to do it is to figure out what would make the entire shape. And that's, you can see off to the side here, I've done that. I wanted the graph, and in fact, I started with 0 to 2 pi, and I got the graph I wanted, but then I changed my window from 0 to pi, and you'll see I still got the graph I wanted. So in fact, 0 to pi is the entire... it gives us the entire shape. So if you did the integral, 1/2 the integral from 0 to pi, like this, of 4 cosine 5 theta, now of course you would divide the whole thing by 5 or multiply by 1/5, and this would do it for you. And that wouldn't be a bad way to go about it at all. So you have... one method is to start at 0 and then figure out what angle would bring us back to the origin. How you would do that, of course, is just setting this equal to 0. You divide by 4. The problem with this is now you have to figure out, the cosine of 5 theta equals 0. Well, cosine is 0 at pi over 2. So I sometimes like to say, all right, cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So that must mean that 5 theta is equal to pi over 2, so theta is pi over 10. So if you integrated from 0 to pi over 10, you would have the top like this. So then you would just double your answer, and then you'd have a whole petal. Another thing you could do is integrate from negative pi over 10 to pi over 10, because negative pi over 10 would be here. So negative pi over 10 to pi over 10 would actually give you a loop, and then you wouldn't have to double or do anything. So the nice thing about polars, there are lots of ways to do it. You just got to kind of play with the window and play with the intersection points where you want things to go. Remember, it's never a bad idea to just figure out where did my graph start, and since I knew it started here, I could figure out, well, when does it get to 0? When does it get to the origin? So I set this equal to 0 and then solved. The cosine of pi over 2 is 0, so that means that 5 theta must be equal to pi over 2. All right? So some different methods for solving this problem.